Hey John, Mikey Warren here. Got Matt Fowler behind the cell phone here, so apologize if it's a little shaky. We're just making it work with the iPhone, keeping it real. So this is that Qigong video that I promised you to help you through healing process. And I kind of lied, there's a little more behind it. It's really going to help your jiu-jitsu game and your martial arts studies a lot as well. First stance we're going to break down is called a posting or pile stance. Depending upon the part of China you're from and who your teachers are and your lineage, the name will change. Most of the books say pile stance. I was taught posting. Both are correct, both are the same posture. Then we're going to teach you a cat stance and a T stance posture for this Qigong. Now, Qi in Chinese culture has a couple different meanings. If you ask a normal, healthy Chinese person, hey, what's Qi? They're like, oh, that's the word for air. However, if you ask a sick Chinese person, what's Qi? It magically becomes this whole mystical life force, much like the force itself, that's vital to your very existence. So I'm going to show you what this posture key, building Qi to Ki if you're speaking Japanese, Qi if you're speaking Chinese. I'm going to show you what this breakdown does, how to posture to get the maximum effects from it, and what to look for. We're going to show you from the outside student perspective, watching me assume the posture, then we're going to put Matt in it, and I'm going to get behind the camera so you can see it from my eyes and what I look for, so you can see it from the instructor's perspective. We're going to break this down just like Henner and Hiron would. So, with that in mind, I'm going to, oh wait a minute, I'm inappropriately dressed. Let's fix that. That's better. I love the magic of television and video editing. So, where I left off, 3 stances. We're only going to really focus on the first one as far as the key details. The rest of the body posture will remain the same for the other 2, except for how your arms and legs are positioned. Gotta love the sound of gunfire. Again, we're on the range, so this is the best place to train for all of our warrior skills. Sweet sounds of freedom. So with this pile stance or posting, we're going to break down how to open up our primary yin and yang meridian. Your first meridian, it runs down the center of the spine. I'll point out the exacts on this and the specifics once we get Matt out here and I'm behind the camera. A couple key things for safety. 1, do not exceed 40 minutes at this, at least not for the first 6 months. This does a lot to your nervous system. It puts a very strong electrical charge on it and builds it up. I've had friends that have practiced for years, had a year or 2 off, and then went back to a 4-hour practice session and actually fried the nose hairs. His name's Nick Lamiot. Long story short, it was pretty funny because he just wanted to jump back to it. This is something you have to build up to, just like heavy lifting. You stop lifting for a while, you've got to build back up to it again. That being said, each session should last 10 minutes at a minimum. 10 minutes is how long it takes for one cycle to work through your body. For a beginner, first session, 10 to 15 minutes is great. 20 minutes is really, really good. It's going to be hard because you're not allowed to move. Again, you can do this seated, standing, prone if you need to. Standing is the best because it works the entire body. We're going to break down some of the key points of performance with this, okay? So, with that in mind, there's going to be some funny changes taking place in your body. You're going to feel some sensations and you're going to start to notice a lot of things. I'm not going to tell you the exacts yet for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want to have you come out here thinking it's just something magical, mystical, or hokey. It's not. I'll break down the science for you as you start to practice. 2, I don't want to precede your subconscious with, oh, I should feel this and I'm going to notice that and this is going to change this way, because I want you to notice it for yourself. After your first 3 or 4 months of practice, give me a call, we'll chat it up, and I guarantee you we're going to feel a lot of the same things once you've taken about 3 to 4 weeks to start building this. This has to be done every day. Every day that you miss this practice, it puts you back 2 days. So if you get a week into it and you miss a day, you're down to 5 days now. So it's imperative that when you're building and first doing this, that you take your time, 15 minutes a day, that's perfect practice, at least for the first 2 to 3 months. Then you can start building up your times with that. It becomes kind of addictive because as you get the sensations and how this builds you up, it's going to help your jiu-jitsu game a lot. So let's break down the posture here. First things first. Feet are going to start together, heels and toes. Knees are going to be slightly bent. We don't want them super bent. We don't want them locked straight where you'll pass out. But just a slight bend to them. Arms are just chilled out, hanging at the sides. And we're going to work our way from the feet on up to the top of the head and how this posture works. Matt will move around a little bit here and actually show some of the key points as I assume the stance. I'm going to assume it once, just at this distance, then we'll break down each part of the body. So the first thing we need to do is get our feet at an exact torso shoulder width. To do that, my right heel heel is going to go to the ball of my left foot. Not the arch, not the tip of the toe, but at the ball. So my right heel is right at the ball of my left foot. Now the ball of my right foot is now going to stick to the ground as I rotate it straight. Shift my weight so it's 50-50, knees are slightly bent. I'm at the exact width that my feet have to be for this posture. Now the second point here, with the knees being bent, back straight, my hands are going to come up. Fingertips are going to stay open and straight. We don't want them slack, we don't want them up and flared, but just straight. As loose as you can make them straight, but straight. Thumbs are going to come up to my nipples. This is a measure point, so you're not going too high above the heart or too low and you don't get the proper effect. So they touch the nipples, it doesn't matter which hand's on top, and they come out so my fingers are straight forward. Now there's a slight bend in my wrist, elbow, and shoulder, so there are slight curves that are going to be naturally occurring at each of these joints from the shoulder on out. Underneath of my arm, in the armpit, I'll be able to take my fist. The fist just fits. That means you have a proper space and your shoulders are relaxed and rounded down properly. That's called the qua, the space here. That's critical to open whenever using Qigong. We'll break that down once you get to the advanced levels. So with my hands up, boom. Now my head, I want to envision there's a string at the center of my skull suspending me from the ceiling to stretch my neck out and straight. Chin forward and in a little bit. And right now, it looks like I'm in the posture. However, I have a little bit of a C3PO thing going on where I feel like I'm standing up straight, but I'm actually leaning back. At that point, you want to check yourself, and it should almost feel like you're leaning a little too far forward. Your nipples should be just behind your knees should be just behind the toes. This is the basic posture. So with this posture assumed, I'm going to have my eyes gazing forward at a downward, slightly 45-degree angle. Eyes can become half open or half closed, however you prefer, just so the eyes don't dry out too much. The less motion, the better when in this posture. The more you move, the longer it takes to build everything up. So with this, Matt here will get a good 360 so you can see the posture all the way around. Then we'll point out why this posture starts to open the primary meridian. With the qua underneath each of my armpits open, it forces my lungs to expand and hold everything in a nice hanging stance. With this together, with the fact that I'm taking the tip of my tongue and touching it to the roof of my mouth and a hard palate just behind the front set of the teeth, closes my electrical circuit, so to speak, like a battery. There's two primary meridians that we're working with here, the primary yang one and yin one. Now the yin meridian starts at the dantian, about 2.5 inches below the belly button, comes straight up the body, up the throat, and stops right behind my lower set of front teeth. The yang meridian, however, starts a little bit higher on the back and the center of the spine, comes all the way up over the spine, and stops just below my nose. At this point here, there's a gap. So when my tongue touches the roof of my mouth, it closes that circuit. That begins the time. My mouth will be slightly open, breathing into the nose, into this abdomen, and out through the mouth. When you get to the advanced levels, there is counting on how long to hold in, how long to hold out, how long to hold your breath between each inhalation and exhalation. But we don't need to worry about that right now. All you need to worry is about just holding the posture, relaxing, not moving, and just breathing. Everything else will start to take care of itself. So let's see it from a different perspective now. All right, so let's see this one step at a time. Right foot comes up, right heel touches the left ball of the foot, right ball of the foot transitions and turns straight. This is the appropriate and proper distance. From that point, the knees are slightly bent. Spine becomes straight. Hands are going to come up. Thumbs are going to touch the nipples. Fingers are spread apart and straight out. And level. Now there is an advanced level that involves moving the fingers in different directions. After you get about 6 months into practice, I'll break that down for you in an advanced cycle. Call it the master cycle, so to speak, for this. But for right now, just have the fingers open straight, not too tight, not slack, and not flexed. Just right here. Quad space. You can see the slight angles in each of the major joints. And working your way up. Elongating of the top of the crown here. You want to have the top of your head try to reach straight up towards the ceiling. Now right here, I feel like I'm standing straight. But in reality, I am leaning back, and this is bad for the posture. So you want to straighten yourself up. The butt should pull back a little bit so you're actually standing vertical, and it should almost feel like you're going to fall slightly forward. So let's break this down from my perspective. Start a session, and then we'll show you the other two postures. All right, brother. We got Matt here, and Matt's going to break this down for us. So step one at a time, he's going to bring that right heel to the left ball of the foot. The right ball of the foot's now going to turn until he's facing equal with his left foot. He's going to have a slight bend in his knees. He's relaxing a little bit. He's going to go ahead and bring his hands and everything up into the full posture. Now what I'm looking for here is, are his fingers curled? Are they apart? Does he have his quad distance? Is his chin slightly tucked? And now at this point, as I make my little circuit, I'm checking the back of his neck. I want to make sure his head's stretching straight up. He's doing pretty good and actually holding himself straight. He's got the slight bend, the butt sticks out a little bit. Get over top here. And first correction, it's going to need a little bit more of a bend in his arms. I corrected the one. He's got a proper bend there. And if you look, you see how his left shoulder's a little high? As soon as he rounds his shoulders a little bit, lets him breathe out. All right, now, we're going to break down the breathing and stuff here for you. So while he holds this, he's going to fix his eyes, get his gaze set. The tip of his tongue is going to touch the roof of his mouth. His lips are going to stay loose and open so he can start inhaling through his nose, down to his lower abdomen, about where his belt is pushing. And then when he's ready, naturally he'll let it exhale through the mouth. Now the visualization aspect of this is key. So we're going to work our way up. And what we want to do is we want to imagine all of this mat here is just molten liquid hot magma that we're standing on top of. We're going to draw that up through the feet, and what we want to do is we want to visualize specifically our skeletal structure, our bones. Just our bones and joints are the visualization here. And as he's visualizing standing in this magma, his bones, he wants to visualize becoming crimson, bright, glowing red. And you'll start to feel the heat after a few minutes. And you want to take your time with this. We got 10 minutes minimum at this posture. This will basically be a breakdown in a super fast way, so we won't have the whole 10 minutes to sit here with us. But we're going to work our way up. Each of the metatarsals and phalanges of his toes, every single bone, you want to visualize individually glowing bright red. Now the joints, you envision a golden color with a golden gel between each of the joints, going through his heels. Now we're going to start to work our way up to the ankle, the tibia, the fibia, his kneecap. And feel this, just envision it just slowly building, almost like a gauge measuring a lot of pressure, or you get a thermostat out there and you see the mercury rising, so to speak, but we have this magma. Each joint you visualize just swirling gold gel, glowing, work your way up through the femur. When you start to hit the hip sockets, you're going to feel that gel going in the hips, across the pelvis, and this is on both sides simultaneously, just building straight up. And when we get here, you're going to start to visualize from your coccyx to your sacrum to your lower lumbar, each and every individual spine, every single facet of your spinal column, just building up with such intense warmth and heat. Every space between the spinal column, you visualize filling with this swirling gold fluid. Take your time and really start to feel this as you're breathing. Once you get to the shoulder blade, you want to feel it coming up each shoulder blade and through each of your ribs, circling all the way around your chest, just becoming bright, bright, bright crimson red. So you have your xiphoid process, your sternum, your collarbones now starting to glow red, all four aspects of the clavicle, front and back. And it starts to build up in the base of the neck here and slowly pours itself down through the arms. So you're going to have your humerus just bright, bright red glowing, each and every joint just swirling gold light. You have your ulna and your radius starts to really get bright red, very hot, and you get to your wrists and you feel that gold gel break down and just start swirling, and each of the fingertips all the way on out, you're just feeling every part of the bone just turn bright red and the heat building up, and every single one of the joints has that swirling gold. Now from this point, everything's been building up to the base of the neck, and you're going to start to slowly feel it work its way up the C-spine. Every one of these vertebrae with the space there and with the golden gel coming up, and your whole skull is starting to become bright red, all the way down to the backs of your orbits, your eye sockets, your nose, your upper mouth, and your jawline just starts to break it right on through until we see it coming all the way down, and even your teeth would be glowing red. You just hold this posture until those 10 minutes are up. We're already halfway through, so this is about twice as fast as it normally takes to get there. Once you achieve this, just relax and breathe. Set a timer. Let it go off when you're ready. And then we'll break down these other two postures here real quick for you, brother. All right, brother, so there's two other postures that we work from in the base once you get to your advanced level. I just want to show them to you, give a little bit of exposure. The first one, it's a natural cat stance. So I have 70-75% of my body weight here, 25-30% of my body weight touching the front ball of the foot. The spine and everything is going to be erect and straight. There's a slight curve to this. There's a left side and a right side. Front leg, front hand comes up, and I twist a little bit, palms out, slight bend here and here, and my right hand, again, all the fingers are apart, is going to come out to my right hip, and thumb is going to rotate in. It's almost as if I'm going to put my hand on my hip. And you just hold this for the 10 minutes. There's visualization that goes with this. It's different from the magma and the fire bone, so to speak. It's done on both sides, so if you do 5 to 10 minutes on one side, you do 5 to 10 minutes on the other. But the one that's most powerful that we get into at the advanced level is called our T stance. My body is going to have the back leg at a 90. The front foot's going to come out from the center, so I get a nice deep stance. Both knees are going to get a good bend to it. Front hand's going to come up, fingers apart, you got a bend, straight out of, just slightly above the heart level. The rear hand, again, is going to point in towards me. This time the thumb's going to point towards my navel, just at my navel level. Now this posture, I'll show you from the rear, is really powerful when it comes to moving someone who doesn't want to be moved. With that in mind, there's some visualizations that go into each of these. They use animals to help visualize the movement without moving your body. Under my feet, I visualize that I'm standing on two tortoises or turtles, and they're both trying to crawl off in different directions, and I'm standing right in the center of their shells, so my legs have to hold them steady. When it gets to my waist, what I have to visualize is there's a rope tied around from behind, and like a water buffalo, it's tied to it, he's shaking his head, and he's trying to shake my hips in every which direction, but I have to hold them straight. Now with my hands here, when I get to my elbows, we visualize there's little monkeys that are just swinging on our elbows, trying to pull our arms left or right, so we have to hold those straight and strong. And our fingertips, we realize, I want to visualize that there's like baby alligators we're holding on to, so we have to have our fingers, we have them by the snouts, so that they can't snap or crawl around, and we're just holding them there. And the way that this hand is pushing forward, and this one's down and in, it's like I have the top of a start of the trunk of a baby elephant, and his lower trunk here, and I'm trying to push him back. I'm playing push hands with the elephant at this point. Once you hold all of these postures and you start to visualize each of these joints with those different animals messing with you, and you got to hold them still, you still visualize the strings holding your head and your shoulders in this case as well, vertical, and that takes a lot of concentration and build up, but it works really good. So get any questions of this, brother, just ask me, and I look forward to seeing what this does for you. Again, 10 minutes is the minimum. Try to go for 15 or 20 minutes. Don't go past 40 minutes, at least not for the first 4 to 6 months, and I think you'll be surprised with what this does. Be safe.